Hello everyone, welcome to session 10 of QA training. In the previous session we discussed about functional and non-functional testing, and today we are learning structural and change based testing. Structural testing. So every time whenever a system is developed, as a tester you have to test it to verify whether the system is not only work as specified but also it is working efficiently as required. To help in this, we have the concept of test objectives and test types. The test objectives will define which test types are used, like functional testing, non-functional testing, structural testing or regression testing. Whereas each test type will specify the test objectives specific to that particular type of test selected. In functional testing, we verify what the functional specification says. Since the functional testing does not concentrate on what actually works inside the system, but only focus on what it actually does. It also referred to as black box testing. So here functional testing means we are testing the application based on the functional specifications. We are not focusing on the code inside the application. Here just we are focusing the functionalities of the application. Structural testing, on the other hand, concentrates on the inner architecture and working of the software application. Due to this reason, it is also called as white box testing. So here in this structural testing, we are focusing the inside. We are focusing the code developed by the developer and we are testing the code. That is called your white box testing. Here structural testing is nothing but here we are focusing the inner architecture of the application. That is the reason this is called white box testing. Structural testing is usually performed at the lower levels of the software development. For example, at the component level or code level, or you can say that at the integration level. So during that development, usually we will do the structural testing during the code level, during the integration level. And in structural testing, the internal system design is considered and testing is based on the logic of the application code. Whatever the code written by the developer, we are testing the application based on the code, internal structure. Whereas in functional testing, the testing is based on the requirements and its functionality. So as a tester, we will be most of the times we will focus on the functional testing, and in the functional testing we will be testing the functionalities of the application based on the specifications given by the client. For example, if a data object is to be tested, functional testing tests the working of the data object, and the structural testing verifies if the data object has specified fields with the correct field types inside the code. Hence, in structural testing, we should have the knowledge of the internal working of the application and the code. So when you are doing your structural testing or when you are doing your white box testing, you should be comfortable in the programming. You should be comfortable in the code. Then only you can do your structural testing. To have a thorough testing, you should execute the areas such as branches, statements, conditions, decisions, code by code. Usually when we are doing the structural testing or when you are doing that white box testing, we will be focusing on the areas such as branches, statements, conditions and decisions. So here, like in a simple term, we can say that functional testing is nothing but black box testing, and black box testing means we are testing the functionalities of the application based on the functional specification document, and structural testing is nothing but white box testing. Here we are testing the application with the help of the internal architecture of the application. For this you need some development skills. Next, let's continue with the structural testing. There are various ways to implement structural testing. These are called white box testing techniques. Usually white box testing techniques will be done by the developer. However, even testers also sometimes will perform. Like even testers also sometimes white box testing can be performed. Now white box testing techniques can also be implemented at various levels such as component, integration and system. So during these levels, right, we will be doing this white box testing. At component level, we test the code itself, such as the statements and decisions. On integration level, the testing will focus at module level, such as a procedure calling another procedure. And when you say that at system level, the testing would focus at a system as a unit. For example, a business process or a web page structure. Now, change-based testing. So, testing is carried out at every stage of the development to find the defects. This is to ensure the application is defect-free and works as specified. Every time when you find a defect and fix or debug it, as a tester, you have to retest the defect or re-execute the test cases that had failed initially. The defect is found to be fixed only when it passes the retest. This time the testing is called confirmation testing or retesting. So we can simply say that retesting is nothing but bug verification testing. When you are finding any defect, the defect will go to the developer and developer will fix the defect. Once the developer is fixing the defect, it will come to the tester for the retesting. As a tester, what I will do is I will retest the defect to make sure that the defect is properly fixed by the developer. So confirmation or retesting itself does not guarantee a bug-free application. After a bug fix is done or some enhancements to an existing application is implemented, we need to ensure the original functionalities of the application does not change. Hence, a system or application that has undergone changes due to bug fixes or enhancements need to be tested again to make sure that none of its original or existing functionality was modified unintentionally. So testing is carried out to check the system works as expected. This type of testing is known as regression testing. So we can define this regression testing in two ways. One is whenever a defect is fixed, as a tester I have to make sure that because of the defect fix, it is not affecting the remaining functionalities. When you are doing the testing for the remaining functionalities, this is called your regression testing. And also you can define your regression testing in another way. Whenever if there is any enhancements is happening to your application, you have to make sure that your original functionalities is working as expected. For this we will perform this regression testing. Okay. So here, like retesting, regression testing also involves execution of existing test cases that were executed before. However, confirmation testing is performed on the items that were failed last time when they were executed to ensure that developers have fixed the defect. Whereas regression testing is executed to ensure that previously working parts of the system have not affected due to the introduction of the bug fixes or enhancements. While performing the regression testing, usually we will identify a set of test cases at each level and maintain a test suite. Since some of the test cases can be used every time, these test cases can be used for the automation testing. The regression test cases perform an overall testing of the most important functions of the application. Here regression testing is carried out every time software is updated or environment is changed. So every time we used to do this regression testing. It is important, very important, to maintain and update the test suite whenever the application is updated or changes to the application is done. Hence, every time a new feature is added to the application, new test cases are added based upon the change, and the older test cases are also removed if they are no longer valid. Unlike other types of testing, regression testing can be carried out only at the very end, after the last code change has been done. If you have sufficient time and resources, you can repeat all the tests in the regression test suite. You should be able to find all the important regression defects, but it is not always possible to repeat all the test cases. Especially if the system is large and complicated, it is not possible every time to perform the regression testing. In such cases, you can repeat only some test cases only. So this is all about retesting and regression testing. Thank you everyone, and we will meet in the next session for more concepts. Thank you all.